This podcast contains discussions that may not be suitable for all audiences. Please use caution while listening. 18 plus or parental permission is strongly advised. Hey guys, I'm Rachel,
And I'm Nina.
and this is Being a Mom Sucks, a podcast about those tough parts of being a mom, partner, and life that no one wants to talk about, and how we are still good moms regardless.
Yay, yay.
Hey y'all, today on Being a Mom Sucks, we are going to be talking about being a teen mom.
Before it was a show.
I'm gonna let Nina start this one off because I have no clue.
Yeah, this is
Not to throw you under the
no,
bus.
no. Yeah, I guess this is my tale
Today is all about you.
when it all began. I was a teen mom. I remember finding out about being pregnant when I was 16. There was a middle school that had like a teen clinic. You didn't have to tell your parents you were going to this clinic. They had a bus that would come to your school, pick you up, take you to the appointment, and it was all discreet, right?
That's awesome.
And it really was, and it was at another school, and it was like in one of those T buildings. And I was going originally to get on birth control.
Mm-hmm.
Went through the natural or the regular little process of, they take a urine sample and all these things. The nurse comes back and she's like, "Okay, so we won't be able to give you your depot shot today because you are about 3 months pregnant."
Oh my god.
And I was like, "What?"
Did everything just like stop?
Yes, because all I could think was I didn't know what to think.
Mm-hmm.
I had already had friends that had babies and
Not
never gonna
me.
be me. Yeah, like I'll be the cool aunt, but I'm not doing that. I was scared and freaked out. I wanted my mom.
Yeah.
I remember asking if I could use the phone there at the clinic.
Uh-huh.
And it was weird because it was like during school hours, but I guess Christian's dad wasn't at school, or maybe he just skipped school all the time that I knew he would be
Yeah.
home. But
Wait, so you were able to go during school hours to the
yes,
clinic?
yes. So
Oh,
that's
that's how they
how
got around your mom knowing.
right. So they would like pick you up during school hours and then
I
take
don't think
you.
you've ever told me this story.
Yeah. So I called Christian's dad and I was like, "Hey," and he was like, "What's up?" And I was like, "I just found out I'm pregnant." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah."
No.
And like me being 16, I was like, "So what are we gonna do?" Like, and then like I wanted an answer right then and there. But I don't know what I was thinking, but I was like, "What? We need to figure out what we're gonna do. I'll call you later." And he was
You
like,
were
"All right."
thinking you're 16 and freaking out.
I was freaking out. So then I remember going back to school and riding because they picked us up on a bus, and I remember riding on that bus thinking like, "Oh my God, what am I gonna do?" I always had a pretty open relationship with my parents. I knew that I was going to tell them, but I didn't know when. And I felt inside of me that I needed to tell them immediately. Like I wanted to tell my mom, I wanted to cry and her to tell me everything was going to be okay. I was scared to hear my dad's reaction because I just didn't. My dad, he would always, tell my mom, they're up to something. The girls are up to something. They're sneaking out of the house and they're doing this and they're doing that. And he always thought he knew. And man, did he know.
He was
He
right.
was right. I was real scared to tell them, but I wanted to tell them. And so I remember going home. It happened to be like on a weekend that all this happened. My grandma was in town. And I remember going home, like, I can't tell my mom because my grandma's here. And, like, it's just going to cause all this shit. But I did. I was hoping that she wouldn't say anything, my mom. So I go and I tell her. She was upset.
Yeah.
She was upset. And then I remember my dad, because he played in a band, he was at band practice. And I had my own phone line at the time. And he called me on my phone and he was like, "Nina, what's going on?"
I'm scared.
And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Dad, I'm pregnant." And he was like, "I'm on my way." And I was like, "Oh God." And I was terrified. I was like, "Oh my God, they're going to kick me out. I'm going to have to figure it
This is
out."
bad.
After we hung up, I told my mom, "Dad's coming." And she was like, "You told him?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like,
I thought you told him. He called me
He
and asked me.
and dude, that was the
Wait,
thing
what? So she didn't tell
she
him?
did not tell him. That was the thing about my dad, was that he was so in tune and so close to us that
He
he
just
he
knew.
knew something was up. He knew something was up.
I had one of those moments with my sister. Sorry to interrupt you. I
No.
had one of those moments with my sister when she found out she was pregnant with her first son. I was sitting in the parking lot at my job on my lunch break, and I was just eating, and then all of a sudden, I just like snapped, and I was like, "My sister's pregnant." And then I called her. She had just found out she was pregnant.
It's crazy. Like, what is that?
So weird.
And so I remember he came home, he called and said, "Hey, I'm outside," because this was like right when cell phones became a thing.
Hmm.
So he had his little Nokia and he was like, "I'm outside." And so I go outside and we go for a ride and we're just driving around and we're talking and he was just kind of laying it down for me like, your life is about to change if you decide to have this baby. It's never ever going to be the same again.
So was it in a mad way, or was it more like
It was a
just this is it?
it was a very real moment. I'm about to give it to you real because you're a woman now.
You're gonna realize it soon
Mhm.
enough.
Mhm. And he did. He told me, it's going to be hard for you if you don't are you going to marry this boy? If you don't marry him, you're going to be by yourself. It's going to be hard for you to find someone to be with because you have a baby and it's not their baby.
Mhm.
It was like, "Whoa, take it easy."
I'm 16.
He needed me to understand if I chose to keep the baby, what that meant.
Going forward.
Right. And there was never a moment where he was like, "You're not going to do this or you're going to do that." He was
So he
just
left it up to you.
he left it. He told me, "Your mom and I can't make this decision for you. You have to do this."
I love that though.
And he was like, "We're not going to raise this baby. If you decide to have this baby, you're that baby's mama and me and your mom will support whatever you decide to do. We'll take care of you, but you're taking care of the baby." And I couldn't believe that my dad was telling me all these things because I really expected him to kick me out and to be like,
Yeah.
"We're done with you."
And then for him to respond in such a very real but still loving and kind way.
Yeah. And it was hard to hear these things coming from your dad. You're like, "Damn." And then like I could hear the disappointment. I could see that I hurt him. When I found out, I knew that I was going to keep him. It was never a thought in my head to not. My dad was like, "You don't have a lot of time. The baby's already growing. You have to figure this out."
Yeah, so you found out when you were 3 months, that's already past the first trimester.
Yes. So my dad was like, "We need to get you to the doctor." I remember, I think I went to the doctor. I heard the heartbeat. I think I saw him. And I was like, "Yeah, there's no way I can't have this baby. Like this is what I'm supposed to do right now. This wasn't my plan. This is just what I was supposed to do. I'm supposed to be
Yeah.
this kid's mom."
Yeah. Yeah, that moment when you first see the heartbeat and
It
see
was
see the little
it was
little
a
being
lot.
inside you,
I
it's
know it. I was like, "Oh my gosh, what is this?"
it's almost surreal, like unbelievable.
It is, because then you start thinking like there's a whole nother being forming inside of me. I grew up pretty fast in that sense too. Like I'm responsible for another person. It's not just about me anymore. It's not about what I want. It's about what's going to be good for the baby. So I remember telling them I'm going to keep the baby, and then we started going to doctor's appointments. And my doctor, I remember her name was Dr. Wolf. She was so amazing in the fact that she was like, "You're a teen mom, but we're not going to be a statistic." She's like, "You're going to stay in school, you're going to finish school, and you're going to do all the things that you set out to do, and you're going to be a good mommy too."
Your life's gonna change, but it's not over.
Exactly. I was so sick with all my pregnancies from the beginning to the end. And it was like once I found out I was pregnant, that was it. I was done. I was sick all the time. And literally 16 years old, and I would sleep with my mom and dad.
Were you sick before you found out and just didn't know?
No,
Oh.
I wasn't.
You had no symptoms at
The
all.
only symptom that I had was that I was losing weight a little bit and I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't exercising or dieting or anything like that, but I had noticed that I had dropped a good amount of weight.
I think that's a normal symptom in
Hmm.
the first trimester,
Hmm.
especially if you don't know you're
Right.
pregnant.
Then I remember sleeping with my parents because I remember I was sick all the time and I just wanted my mom. I just wanted to be near her. And I felt better being right next to her. So I would be snuggled up next to my mom, sleep with her and my dad. and they would take care of me and take me to all my doctor's appointments. Christian's dad wasn't really around very much until like I had him. He kind of popped in and out. I just remember being pregnant. Once everyone knew that I was going to have a baby, it was like everybody was supporting me and behind me and excited for me. And I
That's
remember,
one thing about your family that just warms me so much to them is they're so accepting, and if someone says, "Okay, this is what she's doing and this is happening," then everybody's like, "Okay,
okay.
fine.
hmm
Like, we're on board."
I remember when I told my grandma, and she was like, "Well, Mia, I already knew this." And I was like, "What do you
Oh,
mean?" And she was like, "Grandma knows."
oh,
And she knew already.
I love your
And
grandma.
she was like, "This was God's plan for you to be this baby's mother, and it's a blessing. That's how you have to look at it." And I remember, just all my family being very supportive. I mean, I remember Alicia being all excited that she was going to be an aunt. We were young. I
How
remember
old was Leisha at that time?
14. I remember when it was like time to have him. It seemed like everything was going really fast, but it wasn't. It was going really, really slow. I want to say I was in labor with him for almost 24 hours, but not a full 24 hours. And then I remember the nurses kept coming in and they were like, "Everyone in the waiting room is here for you. Like it's full of people." And I was like, "Who's out there?" I didn't even know who was out there. And it was like
Right.
all my family was
Everyone
out
showed
there.
up for
Everyone
you.
showed up for me and was there. And I remember it just being really hard. Oh, this is so hard. And my mom was right there with me the whole time, and my dad was right there with me the whole time. And going back, I remember when I found out Christian was a boy, and my dad was like, "I'm so proud of you," and I was like, "What?"
I literally didn't do anything.
It was so funny. He just,
Nature.
yeah. And it was just probably because he wanted a boy so forever. So then when I had him, my dad had a beanie on, and the baby had his little beanie on, and my dad was like, "Look,
Oh,
look at us." And
twins.
it was so cute. My mom and everybody, "Oh, the baby, the baby."
That's one thing that I have learned through various times in my life and people that I know is people say a lot of stuff before the baby, but then once the baby's here,
It's over. It's a
game
wrap.
changed.
It's a wrap. It's crazy. My mom reacted the way that any mom would react. I've always been really close with both of my parents. Our house was the house that everybody came to. We had the cool parents.
Same.
My mom has always been very open with us. We've always talked about things. We were close, and I think that she almost felt betrayed, obviously hurt, that she had no idea that I was sexually active and doing these things. And then I think that she even felt I could have helped you be smarter about the
Mhm.
choices you're
If
making.
if you would have confided in her.
Right. If I would have trusted her with that.
Right.
But it's like, how do you go to your mom and say, "Hey, mom, I'm ready to have sex"?
So funny story about that
Did you
is
do that?
no.
I was about to, you had a
I
look on your
mean,
face right now like,
so
"That's what I told my mom."
no.
I'm like, "Bitch, you're perfect. Of
No.
course you did."
No, I didn't. But I had a very open relationship with my mom, and she always told us, when you get to that point, let me know because there are certain things that need to take place for you to be safe. I did not talk to her prior, but I had gone to stay with my boyfriend at the time for like a weekend. Things happened, obviously. So my mom came to pick me up. And as soon as I got in the car, she knew,
She
she
smelt
looked
it
at,
on you.
I still see her face in that rear view mirror. I see her eyes. I
She
remember
knew.
that look.
And it's hard as a daughter. Like, our children are going to go through these things, right? We went through them. They're going to go through them. It's just life.
Mhm.
But how do you tell your parents that? The kids now, they're ruthless with it.
Yeah.
I never wanted to put that on my mom because I didn't want her to feel like, "Oh my God, my baby's growing up, like she's having sex." You know what I mean?
That's one way to look at it. I was always not that I was embarrassed because I would talk about sex, but I would just in general, like we would go see American Pie and stuff like that. We would make jokes with my mom and
hmm
we're like you said, very open. But I didn't want my mom to know that I had those thoughts. How do you tell your mom you're horny? Like
Yeah, like
that's
it's
so
weird.
awkward. It's
It's
awkward,
so
right?
weird.
Yeah. So
Or like,
that's
"Mom, I'm
why,
feeling these things. I'm
right?
feeling feelings."
Like
It's just, you don't
no.
have these conversations with your mom.
No.
It's equivalent to hearing your parents having sex.
Yeah. No, thank you.
No, thank you. Stop it.
That has happened, and I don't want it to
Oh my
happen
God, it happened to me too as a
ever
child.
again.
As a kid, me and my sister used to be like, "Ow!"
Yeah. Stop. Oh, sorry.
No, no, no. I even go back and I tell my mom sometimes, you can't hold on to the way that you reacted because it was to be expected. You're my mother. You want more for your children. It's not to say that you don't love your grandchildren or where life ended up. It's to say that you loved me that much that you didn't want my life to be hard.
From what you just said, her response pretty normal, but at the same time accepting because
Mhm.
they weren't like, "Oh, you're out of this house."
It was disappointment, and
Yeah,
naturally so, you know what I
which
mean?
yeah.
And worry, and I'm 40 years old and my mom still worries about
Oh,
me.
that's
You
never gonna go away. Yeah,
exactly. It's one of those things, a part of being a mom sucks, and your
yeah,
kids coming to you with these things or not coming to you with these things, and then their whole world just changed overnight, not because you weren't a good mom, it's just because either your kid doesn't wanna hurt you or there's always something. You could be as open as you are with your kids. I feel like I'm very open with my kids,
yeah,
but there's still things that Christian doesn't share with me or that Kai might even not want to share with. That's something that a lot of parents are hard on themselves about immediately when something goes wrong, or not when something goes wrong, but like let's say your child makes a bad choice, you automatically go to what did I do?
right.
How did I mess this up?
Right. Them not coming to confide in you is not a reflection on you as a parent, like you were saying. I think it boils down to more they still want to have those private things to themselves, which sex and things like that are very private to some people. But for a child, especially in those beginning years of learning what sex is, learning those feelings,
Mhm.
learning what all is going on, you can talk to your parents in a scientific way about it, I guess, or basic level, but you don't want to talk to them about the more in-depth details of
Right.
things, like
No.
what you're feeling and all that. Like I said, to me, it was an embarrassment thing. Not because I'm embarrassed to talk to my mom, but just like that's private and
Well, and I think that it kind of goes to further back generation before us where it was almost taboo to speak on these things. As a lady, you don't talk about that stuff. When I think about being a teen mom and how that was for me, it was hard because I did want to finish school. There were things that I wanted to do and finish. Just being a kid, I didn't really get to do that. At 16, you're supposed to be starting to drive and, getting your permits and license and, different stuff like that to start your life,
yeah,
thinking about colleges and what high school is going to be like. That
getting the mischievousness out.
right. I was changing diapers and making bottles and breastfeeding. It's weird.
That's hard for an adult. I can't even imagine
Yeah,
for a teenager.
stuff like that, dealing with ear infections and teething and diarrhea, putting myself back and putting someone else before me was something I had never done before because I was a really selfish teenager.
As most teenagers are.
I stole my parents' car. I snuck out. It would be Friday, and I'm like, I'm gone. I'm going. I'll see y'all Sunday. I'm going to my friend's house. When I think about where I was at that age, I always say it. Christian saved me because I know a lot of people that I hung out with. Some of them are not even here anymore. And I think about the stuff that we were so daring to do. I could very well not be here.
Yeah.
And I think about Christian and how being his mom is what saved me. It's what brought me out of myself. As much as it sucks sometimes, I'm grateful for that because I don't know who I would have ended up being.
Yeah. You would have went down a different path.
Right. He gave me purpose immediately. I love my baby for that.
Aw.
It's just crazy when I think about how he's just, he's a grown man, but he's still my baby.
Yeah.
Like right now he's got a little head cold and he was like, I really need some medicine. And I was like, okay, babe, what are your symptoms? And he was like, everything fucking hurts. And I'm like, I got you, baby. I got you. And then later on, I was like, how you feeling? He was like, I still feel like shit, but thanks. And it's just like, he's a grown man, but he still needs me to take care of him. And he still
Yeah.
allows me to take care of him.
Yeah.
Our relationship is kind of weird because uh, my parents said they weren't going to raise him, but they did. They
Like
couldn't
I
help
said, once that baby comes out,
they couldn't help themselves, and they always
because
wanted
they
to
love him.
yes, they always wanted to be with him and to do, "Oh, we'll keep the baby, we'll keep the baby." My mom, she would play music for him and they just would always share that, and my dad, "The boy, the boy." We kind of grew up together. Our relationship is kind of more like he's my brother than he's my son. When you see us, it looks that way too.
Yeah.
He looks like he could be my brother versus my son. Once I had Kai and Gabe, he kind of came back to me and let me be his mom. And I think it was because maybe he was a little jealous seeing me as a more mature mom to his brothers. And this is my fault, like him missing out on that and not having that type of mom in me because I was a kid.
So I was actually going to ask you about that. Is that now looking back on it, the type of mom you were with him versus the type of mom you are now with the younger two?
The type of mom I was with him is cringe.
Oh no.
I think about it and I'm like, cringe, just because it goes to all those little stereotype moms that were like on the Maury show and like I'm gonna have my kids in these type of clothes and this type of that and like it was a cool thing to be a teen mom. I was never one of
Oh,
those kids that thought like that. I think I parented in that way. Like I'm a
okay.
teen mom and I got my kid and he was like an accessory almost.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I would put him in cute little outfits and the cool little Nike tennis shoes and
Yeah.
I wasn't really his mom as much as I feel like I paraded him around. He was an accessory. If I came in a toy box, he was my little accessory on the side. I didn't know how to be a mom. I tried my best. I did things that I thought to do with him. At the same time, like I had my mom and dad right there ready to do. Not that they were pushing me out of the way, it was unintentional, you know what I mean? They kinda
Yes.
raised him and didn't really let me raise him. I'm not mad at them for that. I don't feel like I really became a mom until I had Kai. I feel like up until that point, Christian and I kinda treated each other like brother and sister,
Yeah.
and it
That
wasn't
makes
you know
sense.
what I mean? And it wasn't until my mom moved away and my dad passed away, me and Christian kinda developed the mother and son relationship.
So you do think once you had Kai and Gabe, he maybe realized he missed out on that?
I think so.
Do you think that affected your relationship negatively
Yes.
after the fact?
Yeah, I think that he
Not like while he was growing up, but
no, I think after the fact for yeah, I think that it did affect he probably still has some resentment towards me for not being the mom that he needed me to be, and I think that's why he's gone through the struggles that he's gone through is because of that,
because he feels like he had a friend or a sister more than.
than a mom. And then I think that also the dynamic of it all, you know, like my mom being his mom and my dad being his dad, and then but then I'm still over there telling him what to do and giving him a hard time, and all of that I think was just a lot for him. And then seeing how I am with Kai and Gabe, I'm a lot softer and more lenient with them. It's not that Christian did anything different than they did. I think that it was because I was trying so hard to be the best mom. I didn't know that that was an impossible thing.
Well, and you probably went into somewhat of an overdrive, like, "This is what a parent is supposed to do. I'm supposed to tell you to do this. I'm
Hmm.
supposed to
Right.
show you right from wrong." But at the same time, I'm still just a kid and I don't fucking know.
Yeah. Once I had Kai, it was just because the age difference there, I think I want to say is like 11 years. So that's like a lot of time growth and life that I experienced and went through that put me in a different maturity level than I was when I was 16 years old, you
Yeah, well,
know?
even your viewpoints of the world, how
Mhm.
things should operate, how you want your kids to be raised. God, if I would have gotten the tattoo I wanted when I was 16, heaven
Right.
forbid. So just something even that small,
Mhm.
but then putting it those childlike ideas and opinions on raising a child.
It was hard. And like, I wonder sometimes, was I a good mom to him? Like, how does he feel?
Have
I
you
know,
asked him?
no, I'm scared.
Oh, he
But,
would be honest with you, I feel like.
oh, yeah, definitely.
I think he would worry about hurting your feelings, but I think he would be honest.
Yeah. He'll say stuff and like make mention of like something that the boys are doing. And I'm like, don't mess with them. Just leave them alone, you know? And he's like, you need to tell them something. You're letting them get away with murder in here. Tell them something because then they're gonna end up like this. Like when Kai first started watching videos and YouTube and all those things, he would come to me and be like, "You need to watch what he's watching because he's watching bad shit. Those people on there, those adults, they like groom kids on those things. You know, you need to be supervising what he's doing on there because you're missing it."
That's kind of an interesting perspective for you to have having someone who is in that world and kind of know,
And that's why he
let's be
always
hon
says he says it is because
yeah,
he's like, "I've seen it. I did it.
yeah, because
I
I
did
would
these
have no
things."
idea. Nowadays, I would have no idea what
Yeah.
these kids are talking about. But you had Christian there to be like, "Mom, no,
Mhm.
Riz is not a good thing," or whatever the fuck the kids say.
Yeah.
That's not, you need
Yeah.
to check that. That's
Yeah.
an interesting perspective to have.
He's very father-like to them. Everything that he says, his concerns is, "No, mom, when I was in elementary, this is how it was. Or when I was going through it, this is what triggered me." He comes at me like that. "You're the mom. Say something. Do something. Hold yourself accountable. You're our mother." And there's times where he's
Oh.
got me like that.
And in that moment, how do you feel?
Attacked.
Attacked. That's kind
Shots
of a dumb
fired.
question, huh?
Shots fired. I also feel humbled by it because in that moment, I realized that I did good because I can see what type of person he is.
And he cares enough to look out for that.
It kind of validates how I was with him. I'm just glad that he turned out good. I didn't fuck him up. That was always my biggest fear is I'm not going to be able to raise these guys good. Like, I don't want to mess them up. Even now, going through all the spiritual journey that I'm going through, sometimes I ask myself, I ask God, why did you pick me to be their mom? I don't deserve them.
I think that's a feeling we all have and a fear we all have.
Yeah,
Even when I'm just disciplining Jeremy, there's moments when I'm like, damn, did I yell too loud? Like, is he going to remember that when he's older? But at the same time, it's like, you cannot climb on counters.
right.
Things.
It's my job to keep you alive.
Yeah. I get that mom guilt, and I'm like, man, is that going to traumatize him?
Yeah. There are some like key memories that I remember. The other day I asked him, I was like, "What's the first birthday that you remember? Like the very first birthday?" He was like, "Probably that Disney party."
I was hoping he was going to say the rock star party.
That was the one we did
Yeah,
together. So the Disney
that
party,
was a little selfish of me.
the Rockstar party was when we built the stage in the house.
Yes.
The Disney birthday party, it was when he was 2 years old. We had just moved out here. We had a come as your favorite Disney character party.
That's cute.
And our family was the cast of Peter Pan because it was the movie that he was most into
He
at the
loved
time.
it.
My grandma made him a Peter Pan costume, hat, everything.
Okay, we need pictures and they're going on Instagram so y'all can enjoy this too.
My mom was Tiger Lily. My dad was Captain Hook. My sister was Tinkerbell. And I was Wendy.
Why is that so perfect?
It was the
The perfect
cutest thing
casting.
ever. And
Your mom is Tiger Lily.
it was so cute. I
Perfection.
remember, everybody came dressed up. We had Aladdin, we had Mr. Potato Head, we had Fiona and little Boo from Monsters Inc. Like
Oh,
everybody was just, and that's the first birthday he remembers, and he was 2.
that's
So
far back.
when I asked him, it was because I wondered how far back can he remember? Are his childhood memories good or are they bad? Because I'll never know what that felt like growing up without my dad there or seeing, wondering, well, why doesn't my dad come see me? Or where's my dad? Because I never asked him these things. So it was just me and him for a long time. Jose would come around all the time and he would do the things that dads do. Still, it was like,
It's not the
it's not
same.
the same. I've never really asked him. His dad came in and out of his life. They hung out once Christian was, I think, I want to say over 18. They spent some time together.
Not that my dad wasn't around, he was around. We had a strained relationship. From Christian's perspective, I can understand.
Why should he have to be the one?
Yes, as the child.
Right. When I tell him, hey, reach out, you should reach out to your dad, or hey, have you heard from your dad? Have you talked to him? To myself, I think, Christian don't want to call, you don't want to call. He's grown. I can't make him call. I can't make him have that relationship. I can't make him mend what someone else broke.
And
And
it's
it's not
his
his responsibility to do that either. If his dad genuinely wants to spend time with him or be in his life, he can call him. It's a two-way street,
right.
and it shouldn't all be on Christian because Christian's not the person who fucked it up.
Well, also Christian is the child.
Yeah,
There's that saying, if people want to be in your life, they will be.
right. I think that his dad excuses himself because his dad wasn't there for him.
Oh, so it's like generational.
It wasn't until he was an adult that he had a relationship with his dad. So I think that that also is a crutch where he's like, Christian will grow up and we'll meet again later down the road. I don't think that that's in Christian. I think that he goes along so he doesn't hurt anyone's feelings And if he does reach out, it's so no one's feelings are hurt. But it's not like on Christmas or his birthday or holidays. I don't think that he sits there like, I wonder if my dad's gonna call me.
Right.
Or if he is just like, well, I know my dad ain't gonna call me. I don't
Or does he even think about it at all?
honestly, I feel like that's what it is for him. I don't I think that it's out of sight, out of mind with Christian.
No fault to him, because why would it be any other way?
Yeah.
Why would he think about it? He's never been there anyway, so why
Yeah.
be a factor now?
That's hard too because going back to my faith, I want peace over my family, everyone to be okay. I do care about what happens to his dad and that his family is all right. I check in with him even if Christian doesn't to let him know how we're doing, how Christian is. You know, like Christian just turned 23. He didn't call him on his birthday. If I see him on social media, I just send a message real quick. We're good over here. Just wanted to say hope all is well. And that's it.
For me, in my mind, that plays back to your Christian's mom. You want to keep him protected. You want to keep that link there just in
Yeah.
case.
No matter what, no matter where we end up in our lives, once upon a time, I thought that was it. He was all I thought of.
Yeah.
I loved him with every inch of my being. Because I have Christian, I will always have that sentiment. You
And
know
that
what I mean?
connection.
Yes. And it's not to say, oh, I love him. It's just
No.
to say, look at what we have. Look at what we did. And me and Perry do that all the time. He's like, look what you did. Look at what we did. Even though I don't have that relationship with Christian's dad, I still look at Christian and I thank him and I thank God.
Because if for nothing else, that person was in your life so that you could have Christian.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing.
Yes.
And that's why you are not hateful or spiteful towards him,
Right.
because
Without him, I would have never had Christian.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm grateful for. And that's why I do care. You know, I'm happy for him that he has a family and that, you know, living life, you know, what's between him and Christian is between him and Christian.
right, that's his relationship.
Right.
At this point in
It's
time,
up to you know to them
yes,
to either make it or break it. But yeah, that's man, I kind of went on
that's
all over the
okay.
place with that teen mom thing, but that's how it was.
That's
how
what
it
the
was.
episode is supposed to be
I
about.
remember going back to school being a mom too, and like everyone was like, "You had a kid?" And I was like, "Yeah, I had a kid." And they're like, "What?"
Nobody knew?
Nobody knew because I was pregnant over the summer.
Oh,
So I was like, you know what I
man,
mean?
I wonder how that would have affected you differently had you had to be in school and face that. I mean, kids are assholes, there's gonna be
Well,
the
you know what?
ridicule behind
Actually, I
it.
want to say that I probably was in school for a couple of months pregnant because I remember, because I knew Perry when I was in school.
Yeah.
I met him right before I got pregnant. So after the summer that met him, when I came back to school, I was pregnant. And I remember I
Okay.
told him I was pregnant, and he was like, ew.
I Look
think
at you now.
maybe, I don't know what it was. I don't know if I didn't give him no play or I don't know. Maybe he was just a little salty.
Oh, because y'all met before and maybe he liked you and then
Right. And then I went and got pregnant.
you didn't wait for
I
him.
didn't wait for him.
How dare you?
Dude, I remember we had a class together and I like wrote him a note, balled it up like trash and like threw it, on the floor. And he just like kicked it back. Like, fuck you.
Wow.
Yeah,
How rude.
I know. I do remember being in school pregnant. And then I remember all my friends were like all excited for me. And it's just so weird to think about all those teen mom moments. Yep. So that's my story on being a teen mom.
I can't even imagine. Like I said, I don't have that experience. I don't even know if I had friends who were teen moms. But I mean, obviously, you're my
We
friend.
weren't friends yet.
Yes, at that point in time. Oh,
Poor baby.
he just woke up from a nap.
Well, we're going to wrap it up, guys, because
Sorry to cut it off short. This little boy needs a nap, or woke up from a nap and now he's grumpy.
Remy needs his mommy.
All right, guys, we love y'all. And just remember, you're beautiful, you're strong, you got this, and be nice to yourself.
And remember also, be kind, make good choices, be the best that you can be, and don't have a good day.
Have a great day.
We love you guys.
Love y'all. Bye.